Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign, O parting bird or fiend, I shrieked, upstarting. Get thee back into the tempest, and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still sitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming. And the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. What does it all mean? Here, Horror Church provides perhaps the most poignant part of an answer, that having to do with what Poe elsewhere refers to as elevation of the soul. In my characterization of the poem, which you have just seen and heard, I have portrayed the obvious, a man grieving the loss of his beloved Lenore. The sorrowful man turns to his old books, attempting to find refuge from his woe. But he is drawn to peer from his door into the darkness outside, darkness from which he hopes Lenore might appear. Clearly to me, if she were to thusly appear, then the horror of his own inner darkness might give way to the light of her loving presence once more. But as the poem progresses, the grieving man's soul does not elevate as he hopes that it might. Lenore is gone forever. And in her place, there steps the awful raven through the man's door, and in the end its beak pierces his heart. Its beak which persistently utters the word nevermore. For with that word, even the man's hope that Lenore's soul might be elevated to heaven is shattered. This is the outer intent of the written narrative, all having to do with the antithesis of soul elevation. But the more implicit intent of its author, as already said, is the elevation of the reader's soul. And at this point lies your personal appointment with horror. So listen to me closely. I believe that with my characterization of the Lenore grieving and raven tortured man, I have fairly well brought to life the narrative import. And if I stand correctly in that, then did the poem elevate your soul as its author masterfully wrote it to do? This is a yes or no question, pilgrims. Yes or no? You must answer it honestly before we can move on to a bigger question. So again now, honest bright, at the end of the poem, did you or did you not experience an elevation of soul? Yes, if you did. No, if you did not. Honest bright. Note well that whichever is your answer, yes or no, then you got caught up in the emotional impact of the characterized narrative. If you answered yes, then the bigger question for you is, why did you experience elevation of soul in the sinking of another man's over the prospect of his dead lover's sinking of soul? And if you answered no, then the bigger question for you is, why do you, like so many others, like this poem? That is to ask, do you experience satisfaction in the feeling of your own soul sinking? Honest bright, pilgrims. The message here for you from our church, where you find yourself right here and now, has it that you are in the right place forevermore. For you enjoy that sinking feeling, don't you? No matter how you get to it. Whither bound, pilgrims? Whither bound? Mind your souls.